Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Indie Audiobook Deals channel. And I am so happy today to be here with narrator Liana Walsh. Hello, Liana.
Hi.
So we are so happy to have you here. We love it when narrators stop by because obviously we love all things audiobooks on this channel. So why don't we just start? Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you became a narrator in your journey?
Absolutely. So in 2021, let's backtrack. All right, remember the pandemic? There was this whole pandemic thing that happened,
Right.
whatever. I had been working as a restaurant server, and that is a field that got very affected by the pandemic. So I had like about a year off of just sitting around unemployed, and I was like, I'm going crazy. I want to try different stuff to see what I can do. And I had always been very interested in voice acting. I grew up loving audiobooks, to the point where I will still slip up and call them books on tape because I'm ancient. um and so when I found out about indie audiobooks and like ACX and connection between indie narrators and indie writers, I was really interested. So I started auditioning, and within a couple of weeks I got my first offer, and then I just kept at it. So here we are.
I love that. Okay, that's really awesome. So yeah, you kind of turned a situation that you didn't know what you were going to do into something that
Yeah.
was awesome. So that's great. I love that. And so for anyone watching now who is interested in becoming a narrator, can you tell us a little bit about sort of like what did you do to learn, how to become a narrator?
Absolutely. I already had some audio editing background. So I knew the basics. So I thought I would pick it up real fast. I didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was hours of YouTube, just watching tutorial after tutorial after tutorial to figure out how I want to edit, what programs I wanted to use, what plugins I wanted to use. So just there are a lot of free resources that you might have to like a little squirrel grab a ton of them.
Yeah.
But you'll get there. And then I started auditioning through a website called ACX, which I'm sure has been talked about on this channel before. I started out with not the greatest microphone. I started out working for very little so that I could build up my equipment. And yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
started. Just YouTube and taking any job that I could get.
I love that. And you can really find anything on YouTube. It's amazing, isn't it?
I
I
know.
love it. You can learn anything on there.
Why do people still go to college? Just watch YouTube.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. So that's great to hear. And that's the other thing. I love what you said about taking jobs. So this is what I always tell. I have a lot of authors reach out to me and they say, I just cannot afford to make audiobooks. And I say to them, reach out to a narrator who wants to build their catalog
Yes.
because they are going to be more negotiable if they're just starting out on the per finished hour pricing than someone who's, narrated, a ton of audiobooks and has a
Yeah.
big following. So that's a really great way for indie authors to be able to sort of start out and find a narrator who's willing to work with them on
Yeah.
price, right?
I mostly work with Megan Linsky, who I auditioned for way back in the day when I needed jobs, and
Yeah.
she didn't have the same amount of budget that she does now. And as she grows, she continues to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. So some people will give you advice like don't work for free or don't work for non-industry standard, and I don't believe in that. You are making connections. You're both kind of starting out
Absolutely.
from the bottom.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a big believer in just take whatever job you can.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great way to build your catalog, and it's a great way for indie authors to build their indie
Exact.
audiobook
Yes.
catalog. So everyone's like
Yes.
building together, which is
Yes.
nice. So awesome. So talking about Megan's books, I know she writes fantasy
Mhm.
romance, and so why don't you tell me a little bit about you? Obviously, narrate fantasy romance. Tell me about the different genres that you narrate and why you chose those genres and what you enjoy about them.
Absolutely. I mean, as like a professional narrator, I'll just take whatever job anyone gives me.
That's
So I'm
fair.
happy to narrate anything. But the books that I get really excited about are paranormal fantasy. I grew up with the little free Harry Potter like clusters of paranormal YA that you could find back in the
Nice.
90s. Tamora Pierce, basically just Tamora Pierce. That is where my heart is. I love the way genre fiction can be used. I also love sci-fi. Like my favorite genre in the world is just like people in a spaceship going through space. Just watching those
Yes.
guys in a spaceship. It's great. I also really like to narrate comedy. I feel like I have something of a comedic background. I used to stream on Twitch and do improv. Um,
Cool.
Thanks. So if I get something like big and silly, I just feel like, oh, I can stretch. I can be big and silly.
Yeah, I love that's great. So yeah, and then that gives you more diversity too, because you can do different characters. Some are serious, some are funny, you know. So
Yes.
that's great. I love that. Very cool. All right. So now if someone is watching this and they're just learning about you and they're like, oh my gosh, I love her voice. I want to listen to an audiobook by her. So what, I know you've probably narrated a ton of audiobooks right now, but if there's one that you could recommend that would be a good one for people to start out with that you've narrated, tell us a little bit about that one.
A lot of my family members even have listened to a book called Song of Smoke and Fire by Megan Linsky. It works as a great standalone. It is part of a series, but from what I understand from Megan, it wasn't necessarily intended to. So the first book just works by itself. It is really like epic, like based in Slavic mythology. And it has a lot of comedy, which again, I love. I get excited anytime I get to do
Yes.
that. But still a lot of like very serious relationship drama. So that one is great if you want to experience me. If I've also narrated again for Megan Linsky, a book called The Woven Mark, which is part of a giant 6-book epic fantasy, hours and
Nice.
hours of listening. I co-narrate that with somebody named Max Pinkins. But if you really want to sink your teeth into something, that's another good place to start.
Great, great. So for all of you guys watching out there, now we know where to start with your catalog. And tell us, so are you on social media? Tell us all the places. Are you on TikTok and Instagram? Tell us where we can find you. Do you have a website? Where are you at?
Sort of. I I do have a Twitter X under Liana Walsh,
Okay.
Liana. I have an Instagram, Facebook, Threads under Liana Walsh Storyteller.
Got it.
I consider myself a writer as well as a narrator, and I'm working on that. So storyteller, not narrator or voice. I
Awesome.
know. And I don't update those very often. But one day, maybe. So if you follow me on those, hopefully I'll start making like professional updates.
Yeah, okay, for sure. Well, I feel like these things are always a slow build anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it goes. I always tell people just start. You can build your website, whatever you want to do later, but like
Oh, and
just
I
get
do have a
started.
website,
Oh, nice.
lianawalsh.com.
Okay,
In
perfect.
progress,
Perfect.
but has like samples and stuff up.
That's fair. Everything's always in progress. That's everything's always a work in progress as we improve, right?
Yes.
I love that. All right, awesome. So yeah, so I will put for everyone watching, I will put the link down below so that you can go to Liana's website and check out her audiobooks. And again, tell me just one more time the name of those two audiobooks you mentioned so we know, so we have a recap of which ones to start with in your catalog.
Song of Smoke and Fire or The Woven Mark.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so for everyone out there who loves fantasy romance, and I know we've had some of Megan and Alicia's other
Yeah,
narrators on
yeah.
here, and their books are fantastic. So and you guys do a great job with the narration. So everyone
Thanks.
watching, if you like fantasy romance, it's something you can dive into, which is great. Awesome. Liana, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat
Thank
with
you for
us.
having me.
Awesome. And for everyone out there, please make sure you check out Liana's audiobooks. And for obviously, since we're all audiobook lovers, you can find all of our audiobook deals at indieaudiobookdeals.com. And we refresh the deals all the time. So make sure you check often. And Liana, I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you. This is fun.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.